Hey y'all, welcome back to your culinary arts class. I would say welcome back to your own kitchen, but today it's actually going to be my kitchen. So I'm here to go ahead and demonstrate a few mother sauces and actually talk about a thickening agent. All right, there's 5 of them, but we're only going to discuss one today. So that being said, we've talked about the building blocks over the past few weeks to build up to what we're going to be starting mid this month, right? So with those building blocks, we started out with our mirepoix. We then went into our stocks. We made a vegetable stock, and then I also went in and I demonstrated on how to make a chicken stock, right? So today we're going to go ahead and learn 5 mother sauces. Let's take one away because one of those is sauce tomate. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us are very familiar with sauce tomate, which is basically your mother sauce of spaghetti. Or if you want to add the mirepoix with meat bolognese, right? All right. So from there, I'm going to go ahead and start with our thickening agent. But before I get there, I want to go ahead and talk a little bit more about our building blocks, okay? So with our building blocks, we did mirepoix. We then did stock, which is going to be the building blocks for our sauces, right? So now let's think of our mother sauce as our building block number 1, okay? So we're going to go ahead and when we demonstrate our mother sauces, that is going to be the foundation for our secondary sauces, correct? All right, that's so. From there, we can finally prepare dishes, okay? So our mother sauce is going to be very plain, bland, blah, you know, it is what it is. But when we move into our mother sauces, for instance, a mother sauce of bechamel, right? Does anyone know what that is? No. No? All right, we did talk about this in class. All right. Bechamel is going to be one of your standard mother sauces that will then make the derivative of a Mornay. Do you know what a Mornay is? Mornay is going to be your cheese sauce for macaroni and cheese, right? My personal favorite dish. Now that being said, that is where you go into and actually build your flavor profiles, okay? So your mother sauce is going to be your foundation, right? Right? Yes. Thought so. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate is how to properly cook a roux, how to make a roux. Now with a roux, one thing that you should know is that it is equal parts fat, equal parts flour, okay? Fat, I personally like to use butter, right? And then we'll go in with our flour and we'll cook it. There are 3 different ways or 3 different types of roux per se. We've got our white roux, our blonde roux, and our brown roux, okay? Now, when we're cooking a bechamel sauce, it's a white sauce, right? Yes. All right. So we want to keep our thickening agent the same color as our white sauce, right? Yes. All right, thought so. There you go. You got it. So from there, then we'll go on to our veloute sauce, which is going to be a blonde roux, okay? Now, the more you cook your roux, your thickening agent, right, the darker it gets, the nuttier the flavors get, okay? So we're going to basically go from our white to our blonde to a caramel color all the way down to the brown roux, which is going to be used for our espagnole sauce, okay? Now, before we get there, I did want to talk a little bit about the different other types of thickening agents that we can use, okay? So in class, we went ahead and I believe we went over 5 different thickening agents, roux being the main one. In French cuisine, it is always going to be the main thickening agent, as well as everywhere else, okay? The next one that we can go into is going to be a slurry. Are we going to use that a lot? Not really, okay? What's the difference, chef, between a slurry and your roux? It's a good question, actually. With a roux, like I said, it's equal parts fat, equal parts flour, and we're going to cook it, all right? We're going to cook it to where we need it to go, okay? Now, that being said, what we have to do after that is we'll take our sauce up to 180 degrees, which is what? Our simmering point, okay? And then we'll bring it back down, and it's going to cause the, I guess, everything to change and make everything thick and actually cause a really nice sauce. It's kind of like when, have you ever made gravy for Thanksgiving for your family, right? From a packet, I bet, right? Correct. All right. Now with that, doesn't it say on the packet that you have to bring it up to a boil? Yes. Okay. Same thing here. Now, with a slurry, you're going to be using cornstarch and cold water, okay? You will never, never, never add sauce to a slurry if it's lumpy. Why is that? it's going to cause us a lot of extra work, because if it's lumpy, we don't want that in our sauce, right? Because our sauce is going to be our final product and our final finisher on top of our sauce, on top of our dish, right? Okay. Now that being said, if it is lumpy, we add our sauce to our slurry, then we have all these lumps and everything. We're just creating so much more for ourselves. And then we have to put it through we got to sift it. Work smart, not hard, right? I'm not trying to do all that. I do know that with a roux, I will always get the exact same results regardless, okay? So again, what did I say? It's 50% fat, 50% flour, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and take you right over here to my station. You'll see that I've got my prep area right here. I've got my Bunsen burner as well as my saute pan. The only thing that I'm gonna go over today is gonna be the roux, all right? It's gonna be super simple. I'm gonna create a blonde roux, and then we'll go from there, all right? So the first thing that I'm gonna do is, like I said, we've got equal parts fat, equal parts flour. Now, one thing I will say is accuracy, not speed, all right? And I've already got my entire area sanitized. I've got my sanitizer right here, okay, just in case. Now, the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and take 1 tablespoon of butter. And I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna go ahead and put that right into my saute pan. Now, a lot of y'all are gonna ask me, well, chef, how much flour do I put with 1 tablespoon of butter? To be honest, I really can't tell you. But I can say it's about 1/3 of a cup of flour, okay? Now, you should be able to measure that by looking for the right consistency, okay? So the one thing that I want to look for is going to be a paste. Now, you'll notice here that I have my burner on probably about a medium-low heat, okay? And I'm going to slowly just melt that down. And you can see that it's melting real nice. Now, a lot of times they will say that you want to use clarified butter, which is absolutely correct. Do we know why we want to use clarified butter? The reason why is we've got milk solids in there, right? So we do not want that casein. We don't want that milk fat in here. We want to go ahead and just eliminate that. Unfortunately, right now, I don't have any clarified butter. So we're going to go ahead and improvise a little bit. Wow, that melted super quickly. Also, be very careful when you are using a Bunsen burner because it is an open flame, all right? So you will see that we now have everything melted. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my all-purpose flour, and I'm going to just put that in a little bit at a time. And I'm going to go ahead and stir that in, okay? And I'm going to incorporate everything right in. Now, you can see, unfortunately, I did not measure. But you know what? I'm trying to teach y'all how to visually look for it rather than measuring, right? Now, what I'm going to do is I perfectly have a really good white roux. You can take this. You will see that it is very clumpy. It kind of looks like leftover, what do you call that? That clay, the Play-Doh, right? Now, let's take that a little bit further. Let's go ahead and cook that a little bit longer and see what happens, okay? This is the perfect colored roux that we're going to be using for our bechamel here in a little bit, okay? Now, let's say I want to cook this a little bit longer. What's going to happen? It's going to get darker. And one thing that you'll notice, if we have smell-o-vision, it's going to become very nutty in scent, okay? Just wait for it. For those of you that are actually here, you let me know what you can smell, okay? So one thing about your roux is you want to always constantly stir it. And why is that? You want to make sure that it does not burn, okay? Now, honestly, I could say that I could use a little bit more of a liquid, but that's okay. Because once I add in my milk for the bechamel, it'll come out real nice. I'm going to turn this off real quick. And I want you to take a quick smell of that. What does that smell like to you? Kind of nutty. Right? Yeah. All right. So one thing you will also notice is that it is getting a browner color, right? Okay, so this would be considered your blonde roux. Now, what we can do after that is we can go ahead and cook that a little bit longer and get it to a brown roux, which will have more of a nuttier flavor than anything. and then we can make our espagnole sauce, right? So the one thing you really want to make sure about is that when you are making your roux, a white roux will always have more, it will thicken quicker, okay? Now, if we cook that all the way down and make it into a brown roux, it has less of a thickening agent. Now, a lot of people are like, well, chef, why is that? Well, with that, we've got our molecular structure, okay? We've got our molecular makeup. When we're cooking it, we're breaking everything down, okay? So when we make the white roux, we bring it up to the temperature that we need, and we still have our molecular structure fully in hand, okay? Now, with that being said, we can go ahead and take our bechamel or our veloute, for instance, and we can cook that in, and it'll become thick very quickly. Now, you'll see later on in one of our next videos that when we make our espagnole sauce, it's going to take a little bit longer for it to thicken, okay? From there, that's pretty much it. That is a basic, simple roux. I will not go into details about anything else with the roux. With a roux, this is your one thickening agent that we will always use in this class, okay? If you have any questions, you do know how to reach out to me. And as always, it was a pleasure to teach y'all. Have an awesome day.